Jace Richardson, he is one and done. He is going to the NBA. On one hand, awesome for the kid. Congratulations to him. He did so much even in just 1 year here in East Lansing. He deserves nothing but thanks. But on the other hand, oh, that's a bummer for Michigan State.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans. It's your team in green and white 5 days a week. Please rate, review, subscribe, comment below your favorite Jase Richardson moment while he was here at Michigan State. Hope you guys didn't blink because he is already gone after just 1 year. And look, before we just start, talk about how much of a bummer it is, we are going to do him some service here. Like, we're going to actually give him his accolades. We're going to throw flowers at him because what else could you do after as sensational of a year as Jase Richardson had at Michigan State? And that's where we're going to start, on the, hey, good for him, hand. Because, yeah, when you are projected to be in the top 20, like many mock drafts have him as, I actually haven't seen a mock draft where he's outside of the top 20. I could be wrong, but regardless, consensus, borderline at worst lottery pick for the NBA. The only knock against Jase Richardson as it pertains to his draft value is that, he's just a little undersized, for an off-ball guard in the NBA. And what was he going to do in one more year at Michigan State? Get that leg-breaking surgery where they crack your shins in half, put cranks in it, and then all of a sudden you're 2-3 inches taller? I don't think that was going to happen here in the offseason in East Lansing. He is as polished as a player as he could be, and would it be worth sacrificing 1 year for anything that he could have magically picked up in that next year at Michigan State? No. So it's not a surprise. I think when we talked about Jase earlier and his decision that he had coming up, we threw around the percentage of 85 to 90% that he's gone. So he is out of here. And he also said during the season, like, he was surprised at the kind of year that he had. I'm sure he thought he would have a fine year in East Lansing, but yes, even as it, pertains to being a one and done player, being a lottery pick in just one season at Michigan State, even he was a little caught off guard by that. So, like, the emotions for us fans, I don't mean to speak for the entire fan base, but I think I got a good grasp on what everyone's feeling right now. It's not like, obviously, how could he? How could he leave? How could he not come back for another year? Like, yes, he did have that quote after they lost to Auburn saying, hey, I always wanted to go to a Final Four. That was my dream. But I think as a basketball player, getting to the NBA, especially being that high of a draft pick, probably ranks higher on the list of dreams here. So, yeah, coming back would have done almost virtually nothing to his stock. The emotions, are just maybe just a little bit, what could have been if he came back for a sophomore year. And maybe this is where I'm talking just more for, what I'm thinking, more as like what the greater good of this fan base is thinking. But I mean, oftentimes when you have a freshman or you have a guy that is on the fence of coming back, you think that maybe they should come back because, well, you want to see their other gear that they had to offer, right? Or maybe, as a freshman, they were kind of in a reserve backup role and you're waiting for them to be the alpha in their sophomore season. Or maybe, I don't know, just like at the end of that freshman year, they hit a wall. You want to see how they're going to progress from freshman year to sophomore year. Take Max Christie, for an example, who was, not to throw shade at the kid, was just objectively terrible his last few weeks, if not months, at Michigan State, and you're seeing how he could grow from freshman to sophomore year. You didn't get any of that with Jase. Like, he was the alpha dog once he got inserted into that starting lineup. He already played at his top gear. He was a massive reason Michigan State won that Big Ten banner by 3 whole games. You're not left wondering how much juice could you have squeezed out of this Jase Richardson orange here. You pretty much got everything you could have asked for there. So, look, you raised the banner because of him. I think that helps. He was instrumental in so many games, guys. Like, he had 39 combined points in those 2 games against Michigan. He won you that Oregon game pretty much single-handedly. I know not a lot of people remember this game. It wasn't like this big illustrious game, but he won that Rutgers game, too, in Madison Square Garden earlier this year. He was the leading scorer in 11 separate games for Michigan State. And this is the last time I'm going to say this because I brought this up time and time again during the season. How the hell was this guy ranked like not a 5-star, not a McDonald's All-American coming out of high school? Because we've also said this too whenever we bring this up. It's not like his dad was some accountant and his mom was some clerk at a lawyer's office. Like, no, like he had a pretty good pedigree. His dad is Jase Richardson, for God's sakes, a guy that had a pretty solid NBA career after raising a banner himself here in East Lansing. So it's not like, he just didn't have the genes or the upbringing. He had it all. And even on his high school tape, you saw that he could play pretty solid defense. You saw that he was a shot creator, a shot maker. So I don't know what happened there with the recruiting rankings. For the most part, they're pretty accurate, but whoa. I get a high 4-star isn't anything to sneeze at, but he should have been a bona fide 5-star. He showed that in his freshman year. Now let's talk about us, guys. Let's talk about, why we're bummed as fans. Let's sulk a little bit here because, look, we are very excited for Jace. We are always going to root for Jace Richardson. I think that, the separation from East Lansing, isn't a shock or isn't unjustified. Go get your bag. Go live your dreams. Thanks for everything you did freshman year. But still, there's 2 big reasons why it's a bummer. The first one is quite simple. He was just a blast to watch. I mean, how many freshmen, how many college players can create their own shot as good as Jace Richardson can? And also having just great vision of the court. He was an excellent distributor of the ball. And for us dyed-in-the-wool Michigan State fans that just love grit, defense, Jace also had that too. And the second reason you're so bummed, this is not good news for Michigan State basketball. This is going to be a little bit of a step back from what we've seen. And this isn't all just on Jace Richardson, of course, the departure of Jaden Akins. You're going to lose some solid role players with Zapala, Fiddler, of course, Trey Holloman leaving does no favors. But, oh boy, this is going to be a big offseason here for Michigan State because with Jace leaving, just everything I said, you're losing a guy that can create unlike hardly anyone else in college basketball, especially for as young as a player he is. On Michigan State's roster currently right now, no one was shooting the 3 the way Jace was. And also, like that plus wing defender. So right now your roster is looking like starting at the 1 and the 2 is Jeremy Fears, who fine. I like Jeremy Fears as a player a lot. I think he had a fine season this year. I think he could take another step up. Okay. And then your 2 is Kerr Tang. Maybe it's Jordan Scott, but I think it's going to be Kerr Tang. And I think Kerr's going to have a fine career here at Michigan State, but there's a lot of unknowns with Kerr Tang. He took 14 shots last year. That's not a big sample size. So here comes the offseason. Michigan State is going to need, I'm talking capital N-E-E-D, need a guard right now. Because it was at DEFCON 3. Going into the offseason, right when that final horn sounded against Auburn, okay, you knew that Jaden was leaving. You probably had a sneaking suspicion this Jace thing was leaving, but just on the surface, DEFCON 3. And then Trey announces that he leaves, and now we're inching up to DEFCON 2 because, well, we lost another good wing defender. We lost a 3-point threat, and now, we lost a guy that could actually handle the ball. Now with Jace leaving, not to be alarmist, never on this show, but it's kind of a DEFCON 1 need that you got to get someone out of the portal. You're going to need some probably players, plural, that play guard or wing or both because, well, you lost 2 of your 3 ball handlers. Jeremy Fears is the only guy remaining from last year that can comfortably handle a basketball. You lost 3 of your 4 perimeter defenders, which was a big calling card for this team. And, well, yeah, so you need another ball handler. You need a 3-point threat. You need a guy that can create off the dribble. And all that I just named, yes, it is possible Michigan State gets some guys. I do think they will go get a guard or guards in some capacity. But let's not forget, what we're replacing here. Not just with Jace, too, but also with Akins, a senior guy, really sticky defender. Trey Holloman, a really good defender, showed up in some big spots. I think even if Michigan State has the transfer portal season they are expecting, which is getting guards, supplemental pieces, maybe they even get a guy that can just plug in at that 2 and start immediately. I think even with the best transfer portal season, it's going to be a little bit of a step back here. So I'm not saying that Michigan State's going to go to the NIT and miss the tournament and play below 500 basketball next year. No, it probably still be a fine team, but, man, this is going to be a step back. So Am I the only one that thinks that, though? I don't know. We'll find out because some way too early rankings came out. We're just going to get some thoughts on that. But first, we need to talk everyone's ears off about Game Time, the single greatest ticketing app out there. Guys, I love Game Time for so many reasons. Just how convenient it is, how quick it is to buy these tickets, but also their last-minute deals, guys. You can save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, anything that's a ticketed event. You can most likely find it over at Game Time. And let's say that you're not a last minute person, you like to plan ahead. Okay, if you know that you're going to go to a game, let's say a Tigers game later this month, hop on Game Time. You're going to find some great deals in great spots. Or let's say you are walking up to Comerica Park right now. You don't even have the tickets on your phone yet. Like I said, guys, these last minute ticket deals are going to save you up to 60% off. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that is code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. It's last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right, so final horn sounds. Florida beats Houston. Absolutely devastating way to lose. And actually, before we get to what I wanted to talk about, the way too early top 25, let me just go off on a tangent right now. I'm not happy with Michigan State, that they lost in the Elite Eight. I hope no one takes what I'm about to say as that. Of course, that I am bummed that they didn't reach Tom Izzo's 9th Final Four. But after you see the way Houston lost, like not getting a shot off in the final minute of the game, that last possession being a car crash of a possession, and also just the other ways that you've seen teams lose. Duke up, 14 points with 8 minutes to go, 6 points with a minute to go, and melting down and choking that game away. Or the Texas Tech game being up 9 with roughly over 2 minutes to go and having that evaporate just like that. A weird part of me that's still a little bit hung up on Michigan State's Elite Eight game because I'm not a mentally healthy individual. I let things linger, like, basketball games played by teenagers. A part of me did think at the end of that game, at least that's not how Michigan State went out. Again, not saying that I'm happy they lost to Auburn, but I do find solace in the way they lost to Auburn. Kind of having it be like a multi-possession game for the bulk of the game once they gave up that 17-0 run, because let me tell you, if Tom Izzo was that close to winning his second national title and they have, 3 turnovers and no shot attempts in the last minute, I don't think I'd be in front of this webcam and microphone talking to you today. I think I would have already made my new career, being a Sherpa in the Himalayas and never being in front of a television ever again, not even acknowledging sports exists. That would be a devastating way to lose, just like with the way Duke lost, just like with the way Texas Tech lost. So if you're one of those people still hung up on the Michigan State game, you want to find some silver linings, at least it didn't happen like that. Not a lot of buzzer beaters this March Madness, but there were some devastating ways to lose still. All right, guys. So anyway, as the horn sounded, Florida has the confetti falling on them. All sorts of media outlets already started pumping out their way too early top 25 list. And there's a few that we pulled from. USA Today has Michigan State ranked number 15 going into next season. They did acknowledge that Jace Richardson could be leaving. They said they, quote, desperately need help on the perimeter. 24/7 Sports had Michigan State unranked. Now, John Fanta of Fox Sports, he has Michigan State ranked number 18. The Athletic, I don't know if they're drinking the water right out of the Red Cedar River or what, but they have Michigan State as number 7 going into next year, which, hey, you know what? You're probably a Michigan State fan listening to this. Before I get into my little monologue, you might enjoy that number 7 ranking from The Athletic, but we're going to stick with ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. That's right. They have Michigan State number 18 in their too early top 25. They also did say that Jace Richardson would most likely be leaving. So I threw it out on Twitter or X. I don't really care what you call it. I said ESPN has MSU basketball as number 18 in their top early 2025-2026 rankings. Also the 5th best Big Ten team, What are your thoughts? Too optimistic, too pessimistic, or just right? Now, 43% of you said just right. You agree with the number 18 overall ranking. Too optimistic is 34%, and then too pessimistic, 22%. So pretty bunched up. That's with 500 some votes. Now, guys, I'm sorry. I might let you down right here. I know that we're all bummed with the Jace thing. We might all need a little pick-me-up here. I think that's a little too optimistic. Like, again, I don't think Michigan State's going to tank their way all the way to the NIT or, they're going to play in the Crown next year, but they've got some glaring storylines here that they have to address this offseason in the transfer portal. And I will also say this, a few people commented that this question is nonsense. Like, why are we asking about their rankings when the portal isn't even closed, when rosters aren't even close to settled going into this year? Those are very rational comments. We don't do rationality sometimes here in Locked On Spartans. Sometimes we do. This is not one of those times. We are going to talk about where Michigan State falls in the world of college basketball because, ESPN, they, listed the projected starting lineup of Jeremy Fears, Jordan Scott at the 2, which I don't know about that, Cohen Carr at the 3, Jackson Kohler at the 4, Carson Cooper at the 5. I'm going to go ahead and swap Kurt Tang for Jordan Scott. I could be right, could be wrong. Again, they might even add a starter out of the transfer portal at that 2 position. But still, like, your bench is Jordan Scott, Cam Ward, Jesse McCulloch, of course. And can you find players as effective, just like we talked about in the first segment, as Jase, as Holloman, as Akins in the portal? Like, can Cohen Carr take another step offensively? Yeah, he could. He also might hit a wall here. Jackson Kohler, can he be more consistent? Yes, he absolutely can be, but we won't know it until we know it. Can Carson Cooper take another step? Can he develop a post move? I sure hope so, but we won't know until we know. Can Jeremy Fears be more of an offensive threat? Like, these are all big questions here that do have the answer of, yes, they could. They also have the answer of, I don't know, maybe not. So this is why I'm so concerned and why I think that number 18 in the country might be a little too high for Michigan State, guys. I want to be wrong about this. Like, I would love to be horrendously wrong about this, but these are my concerns. Like, last year, what was this team lauded for? Their rebounding, their perimeter defense, their depth, and a guy by the name of Jase Richardson. Okay, rebounding is not one thing that I'm going to be concerned about. You have Jackson Kohler, you have Cohen Carr. I think that Michigan State rebounding the ball will be fine next year. Now, for the other 3 things, perimeter defense, which was a calling card for Michigan State. That was a massive reason why they were so good this year. Like I said, you've lost 3 of your 4 guys on the perimeter. You have Jeremy Fears, but you lost Jaden Akins. You lost Trey Holloman. You lost Jase Richardson. The depth, which was so fun for last year's team, right? God, like, how much fun was that depth on last year's team? You never knew whose night it was going to be. It was magical. It's so magical, they actually had 9 different leading scorers, I believe, last season. Now, here's a problem. Do you have 9 guys on this roster right now that are able to play college basketball, that are able to play Big Ten level basketball? It's not guaranteed that you're always going to have 9 guys that could not just, produce at a leading scorer level, but also just be role players. I don't know. They could surprise us. And also, the Jace Richardson, you're not going to have him. So another concern that I have too is that not to panic about, Michigan State's lack of activity in the transfer portal. Am I a little concerned that there haven't been a lot of whispers? Only a little bit. This is just how the staff operates. Seemed to work out fine last year. But it's also very hard to look out the window and not see what other Big Ten teams are doing, right? And let's just go through the rest of the Big Ten and where ESPN has them ranked. Ahead of Michigan State, 14 Wisconsin, 10 UCLA, who has made some big splashes in the transfer portal, getting Donovan Dent from New Mexico, and then getting a really good McDonald's All-American that was a 5-star out of high school. His name's Xavier Booker. I kid. I wish him well, whatever, sure. Number 5, Michigan. They've made some splashes in the transfer portal. And then number 2, Purdue, who not only made splashes in the transfer portal, getting big man Clough from, I forgot the school, I'm sorry, at the top of my head, but he's a really strong player. And then just who they return. TKR, that little point guard that many people may have forgotten about, Braden Smith. He's really good, unfortunately. So, yeah, that's who's ahead of Michigan State. Then also right behind them, 23, Ohio State, going to be strong next year. Illinois, they're on the outside looking in, and ESPN didn't make mention of Iowa, but I would imagine that they're going to take a step up this year. Do I think they're going to be a threat to win the Big Ten? No, but they're certainly better than they were before this offseason started, I think. I mean, assuming that everyone knew that Owen Freeman was going to leave, but regardless, you get what I'm trying to say. It's going to be tough out there in the Big Ten. Surprise to no one, but everyone else around Michigan State has gotten better via the portal. And then here's Michigan State. They're going to do their slow, methodical approach, which, we'll figure out if that's the correct way to do it this upcoming winter. But, yeah, what can make Michigan State a top 20 team? The ball handling point guard, a guard or a wing that can shoot. We need some three-point shooting massively on this team next year. Maybe another perimeter wing player like your Frankie Fiddler of the world. I think that Michigan State's going to get 2 or 3 transfers. I know they have spots for 4, but God, that'd really be asking Tom Izzo to swim in waters he has not really dipped in before. He uses the transfer portal to supplement guys. He uses it sparingly. Like, he got 2 guys last year. I just don't think it's going to be this massive overhaul of 4 guys. 3 of them are going to be starters. We know how it goes around here. So just to throw some dates out there on the transfer portal, April 22nd is when it closes. You do not have to commit to your next school by the time it closes. Like, if you guys remember, Frankie Fiddler, he committed to Michigan State in late April. Jamon Zapala, he didn't commit to Michigan State until mid-May. So we got some time here. Well, that's what we're looking at. Now, there were some tidbits that I saw on the internet that I thought were worth throwing out here. This is a report from On3, and that is that Duke will have an $8 to $10 million pool in NIL resources this year. Now, that really shouldn't be a massive surprise. Duke is a basketball school first and foremost. I'm sure they've got some alumni that are doing okay in the checkbook department. Tariffs or no tariffs, I'm sure they've got someone that's doing at least decently enough to be supplying Duke with enough resources to be financially abundant as maybe some European teams out there. Anyway, Dan Wetzel, he also tweeted this out. At the Global NIL Summit run by Silverwave Media, Blake Lawrence of Open Doors said that conference average of revenue share allocated to men's basketball for next year. Now, this is what teams on average are spending. Big East is number 1, $5.7 million per roster. The ACC, their average is going to be $4.4 million. In third place, the Big 12, $4.3 million. The Big 10 in fourth place, $3.2 million. And the SEC just behind them, $3.1 million. So you look at that, and it's glaringly obvious that, yes, like basketball first conferences like the Big East and the ACC are going to be more serious about funding their basketball teams. I mean, there are some Big East schools that don't even have a football counterpart. So when you get into the basement here, I'll use air quotes on that, of Power 5 teams in basketball, like the Big Ten, you're saying is $2.5 million behind of what the Big East will field. They're $1 million behind what the ACC will field, or $7 million behind on average of what Duke could be spending in the portal this season. So there's questions you got to ask about Michigan State, I suppose, when it comes to this revenue sharing thing is, are you a football school or are you a basketball school? Can you really be half pregnant and kind of be like all in sort of ish on football and sort of kind of all in ish on basketball? Like, we've seen what UCLA, a basketball first school, has done in the transfer portal already. There's rumor figures around Donovan Dent making $3 million. I have a hard time believing that, but I also firmly believe that he's being taken care of better than most transfers out there. I'm sure he's making $1 million, maybe $2 million, but 3's a lot. But regardless, maybe there is something going on over there in Westwood because Xavier Booker transfers over there. And I thought that was a fascinating transfer because I think he could have used a change of scenery. Seems like his camp thinks he could use a change of scenery. I think everyone attached to the Xavier Booker storyline has agreed that, yes, he needs to just freshen something up over there. Get into a different practice gym, a different program, just to see if he could find confidence and have a rebirth in his career. And he does so by going to Tom Izzo, but just 15 years younger, in Mick Cronin, a guy that is as demanding as Tom Izzo, a guy that is no stranger to calling out his players in front of the media by name sometimes, a lot more than Tom Izzo does. That was a fascinating transfer, and a transfer that I can only imagine, like, are they paying enough where it was like a deal where it was just too hard to say no to? There are the rumors out there. I'm not reporting this whatsoever. Do not go to your friends and say, hey, that Locked On Spartans guy said he's for sure making $1.5 million. But you hear those whispers on social media, and at first I'm like, I got an incredibly hard time believing someone is shelling out $1.5 million for Xavier Booker, a guy that was largely ineffective and got a lot of DNPs, did not plays this year in East Lansing, but yet he's making $1.5 million. That makes 0 sense. But also leaving a program like Michigan State, a demanding program like Michigan State, a demanding head coach like Tom Izzo, and then going to just that, but with more palm trees. Like, certainly he's going to get paid regardless. Maybe it's not to the tune of $1.5 million. But like, maybe it was an offer like so good that he could not refuse. And everyone is saying to themselves, yeah, I could use greener pastures. Green is in the dollar sign. So I don't know. Like, I'm just fascinated by the Xavier Booker transfer portal saga that we just saw. Keeping up with what else is going on with guys that have left the program. Trey Holloman, it has been reported by a few outlets that he is visiting North Carolina, North Carolina State, Villanova, and Baylor. So some solid schools going after him. Good for him. Truly, if he goes to North Carolina, of course, we're going to have to root against him during that Thanksgiving Day matchup going on in Fort Myers next year. But that's the skinny on Trey Holloman right there. We'll keep you guys updated if he commits elsewhere, give some additional thoughts should they warrant any. But yeah, it's been a weird week since Trey Holloman has entered the portal. A guy that was largely supported by this university still is largely supported by the fan base. I think a lot of people were under the kind of sort of barely the understanding that you got to do what's best for you in your career. Maybe he did want more ball handling duties. Maybe it is a financial thing. It's probably a combination of both, I would assume. But this whole idea that like, oh, he left because he was so poorly done to after that last game is a talking point by the minority. Like, and not a lot of people are saying this, but it's so vocal and so ridiculous that I'm just going to go ahead and squash that right now. No one was more supported here than Trey Holloman. And not just with, we like him as a player. Like, no, we put our money where our mouth was. He was like one of the leading athletes on that website, the NIL store that sells all the t-shirts. And look, how much money did he make off those t-shirts? In the grand scheme of things, not a lot, but that's showing you that this fan base cared. And afterwards, like, largely still supportive. Were there some people out there, the Twitter burner accounts that were, saying some crazy things? Sure, that goes on at every single fan base. And if you don't want that in a fan base, well, don't go to big schools like North Carolina, Villanova, NC State, and Baylor. But anyway, you want more of my thoughts, just go ahead and email me, lockedonspartans@gmail.com. I could talk about it forever, but I wish well for Trey. You got to do what's best for you in life. But this whole idea that, he's just poorly done to by the fan base, like, please, like, what did you think the reaction was going to be after a captain before his senior year, after just not just rooting for him, but defending a lot of what he did during the season ardently? Like, what else did you think the reaction was going to be when you announced that you were going to leave? We are big Trey Holloman fans. We were definitely Trey Holloman fans when he was here. But do you know what we were all before he even stepped foot on campus? We were all Michigan State fans. We're going to root for our school first. Trey second. Good luck. Go get him. That's Locked on Spartans, your team in green and white. Love you all. Go green.